Friends, welcome to video 34 in our series Principles of Equity Investing. In fact, in video 33, I had promised that I'll create a video which is going to give some actual examples in terms of how, even in the COVID situation, the investment through holding companies could be put to use in a way that maximized some new opportunities apart from the discount which is available in holding companies and so on. However, I thought I will create a more detailed video on holding companies because it will give you a much better idea in terms of why that promises to be an opportunity, what are the risks, what are the challenges, and how further opportunities can be created by investing through holding companies. So after this video, I'm going to create that video with some live cases of how even in this COVID situation, I could use these, holding companies to generate wealth without investing money. Now, this may look unreal, but I think we need to wait for that video 35, or rather I'll give that number video 34A because I have a whole series of principles being talked about from 35 onwards. But 34A would be kind of some cases, three cases I'm going to take in terms of how we can even use calamity to improve our possibilities in terms of wealth creation. So let's look for that video. I'm quite excited to do that video also. Because friends, philosophically, I don't do anything which I don't share with others and vice versa. I do everything, whatever I'm sharing with others. And it is my sincere desire that people benefit from that and take advantage of those anomalies, mispricing that quite often happens in the market. And I'm very happy if you, use that to your own advantage and you, are able to manage your own money better. I mean, I'll be very happy with that. So therefore, I don't hold back anything. I just share whatever I know. And I hope you have been able to take advantage of whatever I have shared so far. But that video 34A, I can assure you, is going to be very exciting because it's going to really, talk about some very interesting opportunities that often exist but are overlooked. But let's come back to holding companies discussion once again, because I thought I'll just give you a little more rounded view of these holding companies. And of course, if you have still some questions unanswered, you can post them in the comments and I'll try to cover them in the next videos. So let's move on. So typically a holding company is one which holds listed shares of group companies. Of course, there are also investment companies belonging to certain groups, and I'll just draw some distinction. Holding companies are those which hold very significant proportion of equity, whereas an investment company is one which may not necessarily hold very substantial share of that respective group company's shareholding. However, it still holds shares in the group companies. So for example, a holding company may be holding 30, 40%, 50% share capital of a group company. An investment company belonging to a group may be holding 3%, 4%, 2%, but they do have exposure to the respective group shares. But I'll revisit this portion a little more as we go along. So typically, it holds listed shares of group companies. It may also have some unlisted shares, but primarily the reason I look at holding companies is to reduce my risk in investing in companies, and I create a cushion by investing through a holding company, and we will talk about it as we go along. In some cases, you also find that a typical holding company may also have its own business activity. So again, I have been following this principle of not naming any company, but if you do some research, you'll be able to easily find companies where they have stakes in their group companies, and it could be a significant stake to be called as a holding company rather than just an investment company. But in addition, they also have, their own own business vertical. As far as I'm concerned, I like to invest in pure play holding companies or pure play investing companies rather than those companies which also have their own business activity, because then again the challenge is in terms of how to actually keep track of their financials, their developments in their business, their market share, and so on and so forth. Even when we hold shares in a holding company, we need to keep track of those companies from the group in which the holding company has invested. But as I was saying, that it reduces the number of companies in which we need to do tracking, say from an 18 to 20 that we talked about in case of diversification. This comes down to about 5, 6, 7 companies which may belong to different sectors, and we just need to keep a track of. Plus, we have a significant discount at which a holding company share is available, and that provides an additional cushion. So, in both ways, I therefore use this method of investing. Let's look at some other dimensions. As I mentioned earlier, most of them also have investments outside the group. Some of them may not have, but some of them also invest in companies other than the group companies, and in some cases you find that the outside of the group companies also is a very significant portfolio. So practically that investment company almost becomes like a mutual fund, but available at a discount. I'm also going to talk about why this discount is still given by the market, though of course there are some anomalies in terms of the market perception also, which I'll deal with. But there are some key differences as compared to a mutual fund also, which I'll talk about a little later. But the point I wanted to make was that many of these companies also have a very diversified investment portfolio. In fact, I remember I had gone to the AGM of one such company, and at that time they held in their portfolio 200 stocks. So I spoke at length at the AGM and said, of course it belongs to a very reputed group from India. I spoke at length in terms of how they need to prune their portfolio. And over last 7-8 years, I now find that 200 stocks have come down to 70-80. And even then there is an opportunity, but overall the portfolio management in that company has also improved. So the point is that this, we can never think of holding 70-80 companies, but if there is a company which is holding them anyway and that's available at a discount to NAV, why not? So we can also look at the quality of the stocks and the portfolio, and if that's good, even if it is in some sense a mindless diversification, it doesn't hurt us because we are not responsible for managing that huge portfolio anyway. And as I said, in this particular company, they have also improved their overall portfolio management for the better over last few years. I'm not taking any credit for my speech, but our speech in the AGM, but nonetheless, I'm sure it must have triggered some thought process because I was holding shares of that company for easily 4 or 5 years prior to when I spoke at the AGM. So I had not seen any change in all those years, but since then I have definitely seen a change for the positive. So what is their source of income? Essentially, for such holding or investment companies, they earn by way of dividend from the investee companies. They earn interest or rather on the fixed income portfolio that they hold, and plus they also to some extent keep on selling those earlier shares, and at that time there is a capital gain, so that capital gain also bolsters their income. In fact, in that AGM I had also mentioned this to them, that your portfolio is so static that you don't take any advantage of the market movement at all. They of course explained to me saying that they have a subsidiary which does that, but I was not convinced about their argument. But I think here also they seem to have improved their churn a little more. So it doesn't mean day-to-day trading, but at least you need to take advantage of the price fluctuations, which this company has started doing, which is good. So the question is, why are these holding companies really attractive? So let's talk about those. First, which I had mentioned in the previous video also, the price trades at discount to NAV. This is unlike a mutual fund unit where you have to pay exactly the same price as the NAV. Here, you have the advantage of, buying a share at a significant discount. Now, how significant could it be? In this COVID situation, I have seen a discount of 74%. In other words, if the portfolio value is 100 rupees, the share is trading at 26 rupees. Now, can you imagine what kind of opportunity it provides? So, so this is something that we need to take advantage of. And the question is, so somebody can ask me this question, if this discount is always going to be there with the NAV, then how does it help? So I think that's a legitimate question. But as I'm going to explain and show in video 34A with the case studies, I'm going to take 3 case studies. 2 of them are pertaining to holding companies. One of them is other than holding companies. So how it helps is that this discount is not a static factor. This discount can change. This discount can become huge in a market downfall, and the discount can shrink in a situation where you have a boom like situation. Now imagine what happens if this discount shrinks from 74% to even let us say 60%. So 14% discount change is a huge number, and I'll talk about it in video 34A. So we don't have to assume that the discount is going to be static. Discount is going to be there. As I mentioned in my previous video also, typically research analysts assume a 30% holding company discount. Now, imagine if the discount is as large as 74%, is it not an opportunity? I think the answer is yes. And if you are able to use it creatively, we can actually, take a great advantage of that. So we'll anyway discuss that in the exciting video 34A, which is going to follow this. I'm also very excited because that's going to really help you. I'm not excited for any other reason, but I'm just sharing some of my own investing strategies with people with the sincere hope that they take advantage of it. I'm no one to, I'm not a big investor. I'm a very small investor in all parameters. But friends, as some of you may have heard my first ever video, video 1, when I had shared that in 2008, 2009, I had booked so much of loss when I was in the pursuit of my PhD, and when I had given up my job to pursue that, you could see the calamity that had, that suddenly I had, and I think somebody else would have just quit the stock markets and run away. But after I completed my PhD, got my nerves back, and I said to myself that I'm not going to run away. I'm going to recover my losses from the market itself, and which I have been able to do. And holding companies have been a great help to me in, reducing my losses. And that's why I'm sharing this with you with a very open mind, open heart that, what I went through, people don't go through again. And, they are able to take care of their own family very well. They are able to, contribute to social causes. They are able to have freedom. They're not compelled by, the need to earn necessarily. And, even if you don't like your job, you need to just continue the routine. I think financial freedom does help us to do more creative things. So that's my sincere desire. Sorry, I became a little emotional, but I hope you see the sincerity of my purpose. So holding companies does help us in many ways, and let's discuss them. First of all, as I was just sharing with you, it helps in mind management during crises. So as I shared with you, my whole strategic shift in my own investing happened after I stared at massive booked losses as well as mark to market losses in 2008, 2009. I had given up a very senior role in 2001 to pursue a PhD, so opportunity cost was also very high. And then when I was supporting my family and 3 kids, I had this challenge when I had stopped earning money. You can just imagine the situation I was in. But I learned my lessons, and that's when I discovered the holding company route. by myself. Nobody else recommended it to me. But that's where I realized that holding companies, apart from giving a good return to you, can also help you in managing your own mind during crisis. So even during this COVID outbreak, my portfolio value fell by 45%, like it would have happened for everybody else. But luckily, um, out of my entire exposure, I would say that almost 80-85% of my exposure was to holding companies, and I knew that uh, there was nothing fundamentally wrong about that company. It was just the whole market scenario. Plus, as I was mentioning earlier in this video, during these kinds of situations, the discount can massively expand, and that also happened with these companies. Uh, so I knew that the underlying, there was no challenge because the NAV was still much higher than the price which was prevailing. So this really helped me in managing my mind. And quite often what happens is, in a crisis like this, like the way I did in 2008, 2009, I landed up in selling at prices which were even much lower than my cost, and that's how I booked my losses. But this time I can tell you, in 2020 crisis of COVID, I didn't sell anything apart for a strategic reason, which I'm going to explain in video 34A. So, but nothing out of panic. And I've been able to recover losses at a rate faster than the market. And I'm sure one of the reasons is because of my emphasis of investing through holding companies. And as I mentioned in the previous slide, also the discount varies, and that provides an opportunity. Again, I'll take some examples of this in video 34A. Live examples, again, no name shared. I'll use company A, company B, but you will be able to get idea about how that opportunity can be used, and you can implement it. So the question is, why is the discount so high? I mean, this is a legitimate question. Why the discount is so high? There are a few reasons to that. One, unfortunately, holding company route to investing has not been discovered by many. I'm not, taking any credit per se. I have been in holding companies for last 10 years, in fact 11, because 2008, 2009 I incurred massive losses, and 2009 itself I worked hard to locate some such holding companies. And you may remember that in my previous video I had also shared that my trust in corporate governance of companies evaporated. So I had to kind of get into an investing strategy which was defensive. And in some way, the holding company strategy also is a very defensive strategy. And unfortunately or fortunately, this has not been discovered by many. And once in a while, you see articles on holding companies. I'm not saying no, but people have not elaborated the advantages in great detail, like what I'm doing in this video. So if you're listening to it, you are, somebody who are going to benefit, and that's God's grace. I'm not taking any credit, but my only request to you is, and this is how you can help me to create more videos, is definitely share this video to your own friends, to all those uh, who look to you for guidance and support. So I think that's one way you can share it. So at least my channel gets more popular, and I have created a lot of videos in learning finance and so many domains, and that encouragement will give boost to my determination to keep on creating more videos. The other thing which is very interesting is people don't have a clue about how much is the discount. Now I have told you because there is a 74% discount, but let me tell you one more thing I have realized over years, that people want shortcut answers. They want a recommendation. So those channels which are talking about, a particular stock will have hundreds and thousands of views because everybody is looking for a quick solution. They want a recommendation. They would rely on somebody, and who knows who will take responsibility in case that recommendation goes wrong. So generally, I have found that people don't want to put any hard work in terms of finding out how much is the discount. But is it very difficult? Not at all. If you just look at the annual report, you look at their quarterly disclosures, you know what is the holding that they have in various group companies. just make an Excel file, and anytime that you want, just plug in the prices of those underlying companies. You will get the NAV. If you don't even want to do that, look at their quarterly results. They often declare, the portfolio value. Some of them even declare the NAV. So you have those answers. But for somebody like me who has been refining this investment approach through holding companies, I maintain my own Excel file so that I know exactly what is the discount on a particular share today. And that's where I'm able to spot those anomalies and able to take advantage of them. Now, if somebody doesn't do this great effort, this is really great effort. No, this is once in a year, just populate an Excel file with the holdings. That's it. It may take 2-3 hours, but you're going to get the benefit throughout the year. We wouldn't know what new shares they are buying and old shares they're selling throughout the year, but that doesn't matter because it's not going to make a huge difference. Plus, they're not going to sell the stakes in their group companies anyway. They may add them, which again are available through the disclosures which keep on happening on the stock exchanges about their insider purchases. So even that is not difficult to track. So all that I'm saying is there are enough ways you can actually manage to find out how much is the discount. But unfortunately, people don't put that effort, and therefore what happens is they don't know the NAV, they don't know the discount, and therefore for them it's like any other stock. That's what matters for them. But they are actually missing a big opportunity, and that's what I'm just highlighting. Sorry for making it a little more elaborate, but I think that's where the opportunity lies really. So do take advantage of it. The other reason why there is a holding company discount is because the tax cost for holding companies is much higher as compared to a mutual fund. So mutual funds are not subjected to any taxes. They don't have to pay any tax on the, I'm not talking about the AMC, friends. So I'm not talking about the AMC. I'm talking about the fund. So whatever fund in which you have invested, the schemes in which you have invested, they don't have any tax on the capital gain. They don't have any tax on dividend. So therefore, whatever is the share price movement straight gets reflected in the NAV. And that's the price we pay when we buy or sell a unit. In case of holding companies, what happens is holding companies all along have been also paying tax on their income. And as you must have also heard that in India so far we have had cascading corporate taxes. How do they cascade? So for example, if a company is declaring dividend, they had to earlier pay dividend distribution tax on top. So some tax is already gone. By the way, when the dividend is declared, that is already out of post-tax profits of a company. They have already paid the corporate tax. So that tax is gone. Now the holding company receives dividend. In certain cases, that dividend distribution tax, they could take a set off when they were declaring dividends again. But for most holding or investment companies, that benefit was not available. So in the process, they would again pay tax on the dividend that was received. So this hyper tax was resulting into a discount, which was very natural. And therefore, I said that the typical investment analysts give a 30% holding company discount. Now 30% is reasonable. Now I am also going to talk about 30%, whether that's likely to change in the coming years. I think positively it's going to change for some reason which I'll talk about a little later. But the point is that 30% discount is granted, but how about 74% discount? Because people don't have a clue about the 74% discount prevailing at that moment. They are in the grip of fear. When they are in the grip of fear, they are not able to cite the opportunities. Now, in my case also, 45% value was eroded, but because I had the cushion because of holding companies, I could spot opportunities and I aggressively use those opportunities. The method I'll explain in the video 34A. So I have already explained the cascading taxes was a challenge earlier. However, things have changed now with the abolition of DDT. So for example, if a company was declaring dividend of 10 rupees and it was paying 2 rupees to the government by way of dividend distribution tax, now they will be able to declare a dividend of 12. They don't have to worry about paying any DDT. This holding company or investment company will, instead of 10, get 12 now. So their income is going to increase. Plus, there is this Section 80M which has been brought in. So there is a certain benefit that they will be able to get out of that Section 80M. Plus, again, when they distribute dividend, they will be able to, take advantage of this Section 80M, and there may be a certain benefit which may come their way because of, the certain tax relief by way of deduction on account of the dividend income that they have received. So things are changing for the better, but the market, unfortunately, has not taken cognizance of this as of now. Wow, that's an opportunity, because you are going to get holding companies cheaper today as compared to perhaps the discount that may prevail a year or two later, because at some stage people will discover that suddenly the incomes of holding companies has gone up, and that will start happening from say 21, 22 or 22, 23. This will not happen in 2021 because one, the COVID situation, secondly, a lot of companies have already preponed their dividend declarations in the earlier financial year of 1920 itself. So by the time it surfaces, it will take a little longer time, and that provides a bigger opportunity to continue to invest in holding companies. So you are going to benefit again. Okay, let me move on. Now, what are the risks? The risks are associated with the underlying company. So if you have invested in the holding company of a particular group, and the group companies don't do well, or there is some challenge there, then of course the holding company will also suffer over a period. So that's a risk associated with underlying companies. And sometimes, as I already explained in one of my earlier slides, that sometimes this doesn't happen with holding companies. This can happen with group investment companies which are also listed in the market. Like what I shared earlier, that this company had invested in 200 companies. Now this I call as mindless diversification. Fortunately, I made 8-9 points in that AGM and things have improved. So this mindless diversification is also another risk. And the third risk, though I have not put that as a point here, is investing in holding companies when the markets are really booming. At that time, the discount can shrink, and then the risk is that if the market corrects, the discount can enlarge. So we may have a problem there. So that is an additional risk in my view. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to create a video on how COVID challenge provided an opportunity using the holding company route as well as the other opportunities. And this is also just triggering a thought in my mind that whether I should create an Excel-based tool which can also help you to see the comparative advantages across multiple holding companies and how you could switch from one company to another. So that is something that I'm also thinking. I have not yet crystallized my mind, so I'm not giving this as a promise, but I'll try and create another video which in which I can provide an Excel tool to you, again without naming any company. But if you're investing in say 3 companies, you can easily see their price NAV dynamics and see whether you need to switch money from one holding company to another, like I'm going to show you in the next video. Until then, thank you very much. So if you have liked this video, do press the like button and share this video to as many people as possible. Subscribe to my channel, comment and share, and do suggest topics. Thank you very much. Take care of yourself.